We live in confusing times. All around us, there's noise, there's chaos and polarization. And for Israel and the Jewish people, we find ourselves in the eye of the storm yet again. In the arc of Jewish history, we were born in the Golden Age. We had freedoms, relative safety, and after 2,000 years, sovereignty in our ancestral homeland. There were challenges, of course. The state of Israel was attacked as soon as it was established, and we have known only too well the tragedies of war and terror. But broadly speaking, for Israelis and for Jews in the diaspora, we felt accepted in the world. And after 75 years, we became comfortable. October 7th jolted us from a deep sleep. We rediscovered in our own lifetimes the traumas of the Jewish experience that many Jews so wanted to believe were confined to history. Once again, we had to face what it means when bloodthirsty anti-Semites descend on our towns and on our villages with the single-minded purpose of killing as many Jews as they possibly can.
Oh my God.
Killing, raping, kidnapping, and believing with all their heart and soul that they are on the good side of history. The good guys doing God's work. Once again, images of Jews who have been beaten, starved, and tortured. And on our streets and on our campuses, we see colleagues, classmates, teachers celebrating or justifying those deaths because, context. We'll never forget what happened on that day, but we are still trying to make sense of everything that has happened since. Because these are confusing times. You see, 59 hostages, living and dead, remain captive in Gaza. We need to keep up the pressure on Hamas to release them. And we also hear the voices of those who have been released that tell us that when war is raging, their lives are even at a greater risk. At the same time, we still face the very real fact that Hamas promises to do October 7th again and again. If that jihadi organization is still in charge of Gaza, it will do it again. That's a lot to wrap our heads around as Jews. As a Jew. We hear that a lot recently. As a Jew, As a Jew is often used when people with Jewish backgrounds want to condemn Israel without condemning Hamas, without acknowledging the dilemmas Israel faces, and without acknowledging reality. As a Jew, they say, as a Jew, it is in our tradition to ask questions, to argue, to wrestle with opposing points of view, and to speak truth to power. That is 100% true. I know that, not just as a Jew, but as an Israeli-American Jew. Because Israelis do that. Look at the demonstrations on the streets of Israel and the media in Israel asking tough questions of their government. We don't need anybody to tell us to do that. We do that already. And let me tell you something else, as a Jew. As a Jew, you need to do your research. Because when we apply our Jewish values, we better be applying them to reality and not to a world of make-believe. So, let's have some clarity. First, let me state the obvious. War is horrific. We should never become indifferent to its horrors. But when you are faced with a murderous jihadi death cult like Hamas that sent thousands of terrorists to murder and rape your citizens, that seeks your destruction, that encourages their own children to dance on stage after Israeli babies have been returned in coffins, a jihadi death cult that needs to be defeated, how do you defeat it without a war? How? And how do you avoid civilian casualties when Hamas deliberately puts their own civilian in harm's way just for you to be shocked by it? How do you wrap your head around the fact that you care about Palestinian children more than Hamas does. It's very confusing. For decades, Arab and Palestinian leaders have attacked Israel, and their people suffered dire consequences, only to repeat the same mistake. Attacking Israel and seeking its destruction has not brought a single tangible gain for Palestinians. It has only made their reality worse. Many people in the Arab world know this. They understand it, and they say so in private. It is time that they say it in public. In the last week, in Gaza, Palestinians have been doing just that, taking to the streets to resist the Hamas death cult that has made their lives hell. Hamas barra, they shouted. Hamas barra. Hamas, get out. Some of them have been tortured, and some have been executed in the most barbaric of ways. To those brave Gazan, I want to say, we see you, we hear you, and we really hope that you succeed. To the international media, I want to say, don't just cover anti-Israel propaganda and your anti-Israel rhetoric. Cover these demonstrations and their brutal repercussions, even if they don't fit your agenda. These people need, thank you. The people in Gaza need the world to hear them, they need to see them, and they want you to shine a spotlight on them to protect them from their brutal rulers. And to the extremists, so-called friends of the Palestinians here in the West, listen to what Palestinians in Gaza themselves think of your beloved Hamas. Play dress up with your keffiyehs and your green headbands on your college quad. Know this, you're not helping. You're not helping. You are hurting every single voice in the Middle East. You're hurting every single liberal voice in the Middle East that is trying to resist Hamas and the jihadists that are threatening the entire region. We need to hear the Arab states too. Saudi Arabia, the Gulf states, Egypt and Jordan saying publicly that Hamas has to go, that the hostages need to be released, and that Hamas cannot control Gaza or the Palestinian people ever again. Because the Arab world knows this. They know what Hamas represents and what it seeks to do. They understand it better than anyone speaking as a Jew, and better than privileged kids calling for an intifada from an Ivy League lawn. The world is confusing, but some things must be clear. Hamas is the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. They want to impose extreme Islamist rule and establish a caliphate, not over this or that piece of land, but over the entire Middle East and beyond. And they're backed and inspired by the Iranian regime that wants to export its own Islamic revolution. They do it with terrorism. Now, Hamas is a terrorist organization. That is true even if some media companies can't actually say that. Hamas is a terrorist organization, but terrorism is not a goal in and of itself. It's means to an end. And the goal of Hamas's terrorism isn't liberation, it's subjugation. Subjugation of anyone who doesn't think the same way that they do, subjugation of all women, of Jews, of Christians, of LGBTQ plus people, and of minority. Subjugation of anyone who dissents. Do you think that a terrorist organization that murdered Jewish babies with their own bare hands is going to treat their people any better? Or you? This is imperialism. This is colonialism. Israel is not the colonialist entity in the region. The Islamic Republic of Iran and their proxies are the true imperialists of the Middle East. But in the West, we struggle to take that threat seriously. See, we can't comprehend that some people believe things that we find crazy. We should never be afraid to call out bad ideas, okay? Never. A woman being a property of a man is a bad idea. Forcing rape victims to marry their rapists is a bad idea. Sentencing gay people to death is a bad idea. Chopping hands, stoning, honor killings, those are bad ideas. Attacking Israel and killing Jews is a bad idea. Now, by any rational measure, war with Israel has been a disaster for anyone who's tried it. So here's a better idea. Try peace. The Abraham Accords were ripe and ready to be expanded right before October 7th. Peace with Saudi Arabia was within reach. Israelis were ready to be fully integrated into the Middle East, yet the region's jihadi terrorist organization like Hamas and other states are violently against it. So know this: those who will not make peace with Israel will not make peace with the West. Those who will not make peace with Israel will not make peace with America, Europe, Australia, Canada, France, Britain. They won't. Israel not only has the right to defend itself against those who seek its destruction, it has a duty to win, not just for its own citizens, but for the entire liberal, democratic world. So indeed, as Jews and as non-Jews, we must debate, we must argue, we must wrestle with our conscience when we see the horrors of war, but we also must acknowledge reality, and we must be clear about what it is that we are up against. We, the Jewish people, have survived for thousands of years because we recognize reality and we adapt to it, guided by our values, for sure, but under no illusions about the world around us. And in this world, the Western values, rights, and freedoms that we hold to be self-evident are under attack by the bad, mad, and dangerous ideas of Hamas, of the Muslim Brotherhood, of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and their useful idiots here in the West. We make no apologies for stating clearly that our ideas must be defended and that their ideas must be defeated. It is a war we must win, and we will. We will. Thank you so much, everybody. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you.